Hey guys, and welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Down South. Today we're having a look at our last deck profile in our 4-deck profile series, where we're going to have a look at Kaylin Konar's Pendulum Magician list from Pretoria. Now, from what I've heard, Kaylin's pretty new to the Pretoria competitive scene, so it's really interesting that he's doing so well with such an interesting deck already. So good job, Kaylin, and thanks for the list. This list for me kind of epitomizes everything that's interesting about South African Yu-Gi-Oh! This idea that, well, I don't have all the cards, but I'm just gonna slap sorta most of a Pendulum Magician deck together, and I'm gonna make it work, and I'm gonna get 1 card a week or 2 cards a week, and hopefully in a month or 2 months I'll have the full list with everything in it, and it's gonna be super meta and awesome. But the cool thing is that as you're building this deck, you learn so much about the strategy, you learn what works and what doesn't work, and more importantly, what works for you. So it's a really interesting list, and let's get into it. Starting off, we have 3 Astrograph Sorcerer, as well as 3 Red Astrograph Sorcerer, the Chronograph Sorcerer. Then we have 2 Oath Dragon Magician, which is pretty standard, and then a sort of set of 3 elves of each of the major magicians. We've got 3 Black Fang, 3 Wisdom Eye, 3 Purple Poison, 3 Harmonizing, and that's it for the Magician lineup. Which is pretty standard. And then we get into the really interesting sort of spice of it. Only 1 Mythical Beast Master Cerberus and 2 Mythical Beast King Jackal. Now, I asked Kaylin about this, and you know what he said to me? Do you have Mythical Beast Master Cerberuses for me? Because I don't. I'm still looking for a couple. But the cool thing about this is that maybe the smaller engine really works. Maybe you don't need to be running 3 Cerberus and 3 Jackal and bricking your face off all the time and not running a bunch of other consistency cards. Because you know what? You can maybe just the smaller engine works. And like, I find that really interesting and innovative when you have to kind of work within these constraints of sort of a budget and working out how to get the cards and when. So good job, Kaylin. Maybe the 3 Mythical Beasts isn't actually the way to go. And then standard, we've got 3 Supreme King Dragon Darkworm, 2 Supreme King Gate 0, as well as the 1 Time Gazer and 1 Stargazer for searching off Chronograph. And then we have the budget kicking in again. Kaylin asks me, do you have another Ghost Ogre? Because I'm still looking for one, and that's why, as you can see, he's got 1 Ghost Ogre and 1 Effect Veiler for his hand traps. No Ash here, no Reapers, no crazy ridiculous hand traps, just 1 humble Ghost Ogre and 1 Effect Veiler. And that's really cool and interesting. There are a couple changes maybe he would like to make if he had more Ghost Ogres, for example. But you know what? It's allowing him to play all of these different interesting tech choices that you see dotted around a variety of different magician lists. And maybe just running the 2 hand traps works. And you know what? Effect Veiler probably puts just as much work in as Ogre does 90% of the time. And then rounding all that off, we've got the 1 Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser as an extender. And then we've got the spells. Now, most of these spells are pretty standard for a magician list. You got the 2 Potted Desires, the 1 Dragon Shrine, the 1 Foolish Burial. But then you get to Allure of Darkness. And I looked at it and sort of my eyebrow raised a bit. Like, what? Allure of Darkness? Why? And then you realize actually that most of the targets in this deck are dark. I mean, even if you're just banishing like extraneous Dark Worms, or even Jackal Kings off Allure, or the Time Gazer or Stargazer, like there are so many targets here where all you really want to do is draw into 2 good cards and get rid of 1 bad one. Like, it just helps with your consistency to be playing it. So that's really interesting. And then lastly, rounding off the deck, we have 1 Star Pendulum Graph. Now, I asked him about it, and he said, well, it just kind of makes for a little bit easier going first or second if you don't know if you won the die roll or not. This idea that, like, Time Pendulum Graph is only good going first, but Star is good going first or second, especially when you need to start searching out combo pieces and actually try to break boards. That the Star Pendulum Graph is one of works really well. Then we have our extra deck, and that's pretty standard as far as Magician extra decks go. We've got 2 Starving Venom and the 1 Vortex, along with the 1 Absolute in our Xyz section. But then where the Synchros come, it gets a little bit more interesting. This idea of like, wait a minute, where's Ignister? And fair enough, Ignister probably doesn't come up nearly as much as it used to in Pendulum Magicians, where you've got multiple Electromites and you've got these crazy combo boards going on. So maybe he didn't need more Synchros. But going along with that, we've just got the 1 Cyframe Lord Omega and the 1 Supreme King Dragon Clearwing. Now, Clearwing is really interesting because, of course, it's just Raigeki, and everybody loves that. So that rounds off the Synchro monsters. And then for our Xyz, it's pretty standard. Like I said, we have the Absolute. You've got your sort of standard pieces as far as the combo goes with things like Naruto. But then you have things like Hope Harbinger, and that's probably there because just in case you need the extra negation. Now, it's a little bit harder to pull off needing the 2 level 8s, so that gets a little bit rough. But aside from that, it could be interesting, though it likely doesn't come up as much as maybe he'd like. But it's interesting nonetheless. And then we have for the rank 4s, we have the Supreme King Xyz Dragon, as well as Tornado Dragon, and that spicy Baguska. Yes, that is the OCG art up there, because it just looks so damn spicy, I couldn't help it. And then onto the links. Well, we know what links this makes, right? It just makes Electromite. All day, every day. All the time. But occasionally, you need some other things to kind of get your engine going, and that would be Deco Talker and the Zephyr Metaltron that we have over there. And that just helps open up your extra X slots so that you can spam the board. Remember, at the end of the day, Magicians is probably either going to make a board that you can't break, or it's just going to straight up OTK you, because that's what the deck does. It's going to be really interesting to see where this list kind of goes if and when there is a ban list. So we'll have a look at that sort of as the format develops. And now onto our side deck. Really interesting here. Instead of sort of your 3 kaiju package, we've got 1 Lava Golem, 1 Gardala, also known as the cheap kaiju, and then 1 spicy Gamma Seal that everybody loves. Man, I love me some Gammy. Thumbs up for Gamma Seal, maybe? Now watch me get all the dislikes because everybody hates Gamma Seal. And then, interestingly, only 1 Ghost Reaper. Now, that's really interesting. There aren't too many targets for it here that I can see sort of off the top of my head. But it's probably just there for things like the mirror match, just in case you draw it. Maybe you want it, you don't want it. Maybe you draw it, maybe you don't. So that's kind of cool to see. And then the 1 Veiler coming, the other 1 other Veiler, so 2 Veilers in total between main and side, coming in matchups likely where Ghost Ogre is really not doing too much work. And then we have double mind control, which, like I said in my previous profile, I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's interesting enough in Magicians because you can just take something, and because Magicians spam the board, it's really easy to make things like Deco Talker with stuff you took from with mind control because it's all generic and like it's fine. So it's interesting to see how mind control has been working out for him when going second, as well as then the 3 Cosmic Cyclones, because we hate Bakuro, we hate True Draco. Like, it's pretty obvious as to why you're playing Cosmic Cyclones. Note to South African players, make sure you get Cosmic Cyclones. There is a reprint in the upcoming OTS. Shout outs to the video I did yesterday, just raging at it. But hey, it's another way to get really copies of Cosmic Cyclone, so you might want to get on that. Then 3 Wavering Eyes for the mirror match, the Time Pendulum Graph if he knows he's going first, as well as the Spicy Solemn Judgment, again likely for if he's going first. So guys, that was Kaylin Konar's Pendulum Vision deck profile. Thanks again, Kaylin, for the list. And let me know if you liked it, what other kind of content you want to see on the channel, as well as specifically the other kinds of content you want to have a look at going forward. I'm thinking of maybe doing some sort of like sort of nation to nation or like region to region rogue sort of deck profiles. This idea of like, send me in your rogue decks from Pretoria, from Joburg, from Durban, from Cape Town. I want to see the spicy stuff that you're playing at locals and doing really well with. I bet a bunch of other people in South Africa do too. So please send me in those deck profiles either on Facebook, on YouTube, whatever it is. Send in those deck profiles if we can get that going. There's some other cool content on the way for you guys. Some more sort of like live action edited videos that I've been working on. So I really hope you enjoy that, and I'll see you guys next time.